It does not matter where you're at today, because if you believe in yourself, if you commit, if you decide that you want to develop this skill, if you start believing in yourself and believing that you are capable of achieving that thing that you saw someone else do, that you automatically put on a pedestal as something that you could never do, the reminder that you can.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today we're going to put some fire in that bum of yours, because I think we all have certain things, certain people that we see on social media, in our surroundings, that we are so incredibly inspired by in the way that they live their life, in their skills that they've acquired, or just the energy that they bring when they show up in life. And I am such a believer that it does not matter your age, it does not matter where you're currently at. You literally can create any life that you want. And I have proof today, or at least I will try to do my best to prove this to you, because I in my life have had so many insecurities and limiting beliefs that I have placed upon myself, which has just held me back until I decided and realized that, oh my gosh, I can actually just work really hard, put my head down, get very uncomfortable daily in order to create that for my own life, for myself. And I have examples in my own personal life with other people who have done the same for their life that has been very inspiring. And well, when we see anyone successful in life, if we really dig into their story, for a majority of the people that have developed, created a really incredible life, they've gone through hardships and they have had to dig into overcoming a shit ton of challenges in order to get to where they are today. The reason that this has come up is because during our call with the October Challengers yesterday, and a lot of my podcast episodes certainly have been sparked in those conversations. One of the things that we were speaking about was this idea of how typically we all start off at feeling like we suck at something until we start doing it and practicing it, and then developing the skills that are needed in order for us to get to that next level within the thing that we want to get better at. And for example, me, today, I make a full living off of talking on camera, being on camera, and sharing my thoughts. And that is not something that has ever previously been natural to me before I started wanting to create a YouTube channel and showing up on Instagram to inspire people, and then later on creating this podcast. First of all, when I first wanted to start this podcast, it took me 6 months of continuously trying to create and record a podcast, and I just could not. And this is like years after having even started my YouTube channel and my Instagram account where I would be talking on camera. But there was something about sitting down and just speaking to, actually I didn't even have video on at first, like just literally speaking into a microphone for, let's say, 30 minutes at a time. It was just, I had to retake it over and over and over, and I couldn't be myself. It was as if I felt like I put up this like front because I thought I had these expectations of how someone who was having a podcast should sound. So it took me 6 months of really trying again and again and again to record a single episode so I could, record my first podcast episode before it actually ended up happening. And at first it still was very uncomfortable and very challenging for me to sit down and talk to a microphone for 30 minutes at a time, or however long an episode was. But from practicing those 6 months, and now continuously, now it's been almost a year and a half that I've been running this podcast, it just gets easier and easier and easier. And I remember back in the day when I started my Instagram, I really started the Instagram because I had learned so much from my fitness journey, from really getting in badass shape, that even though how many times I've tried in the past to get in shape, when I really commit and really set my mind to something, regardless of how hard and how challenging it is, if I get determined and commit, I can do that challenging thing. And when I experienced and saw myself level up within my fitness in that way, I saw it impact all other areas of my life, and it just compound affected with my beliefs and my way of showing up in all other areas of my life, little by little, but it just sparked something within me that I had never experienced before. And so I wanted to start this Instagram account so that I could help others experience that as well. That if they finally committed, if they had the urge to get in badass shape like I had, if they finally committed and actually did it, and I could show them the way and how to do that because I'd done it for myself. I wanted to share and show with as many people as possible that they really could do this thing if they committed, and that the belief that they previously had about the fact that they couldn't because they'd shown themselves that they would be given up again and again and again, or they couldn't stick to whatever routine they had set for themselves previously, that if they actually committed and they actually believed in themselves in a new way, that they could do that, and then how that would impact their beliefs about themselves and how they would show up in these other areas of their life. And so I really wanted to do that. But in the beginning, I was mostly just posting fitness videos of me working out, and that seemed kind of, like the easy way out for me. And I at one point just decided I just want to be able to speak in front of the camera because I feel like I have so much to say, but it just, every time I started to hit that record button, it was like I was rambling, I was mumbling, I was just not making any sense at all. I'd always had this idea in my head that I couldn't speak. I was not very well at articulating words and sentences, and it's still something that I may not be very great at, but I've definitely improved so incredibly much compared to where I used to be. And people who look at me today will maybe think, oh, it's just easy for Pernilla to be in front of the camera, or it's easy for her to speak her mind in front of whatever, a microphone or a video camera, if it's for YouTube or anything else. But when I started my Instagram account back in, was it 2019? Maybe it was 2019, in the beginning of 2019. I first of all started making these workout videos, and then little by little I would make these like stories, talking and sharing my thoughts, something that I felt had been useful in my life, and then trying to share that in a way so that other people could apply these things that had been really useful to me. But I kept feeling like I absolutely sucked at it. And so a full year went by where I was kind of practicing, but I was also just feeling like I was terrible at it. And it was like, had to redo every single video like 100 times till I was happy with what I had said, or like at least sort of happy with what I'd said. And then in 2020, I think I had been hyped up by some sort of Tony Robbins motivational talk. I decided, okay, for a full year, every single day, because if I want to, just to explain, if I wanted, I during this, I'd listened to some sort of Tony Robbins motivation. And what I had realized from that was that if I want to become the person that I want to become, which for me is a motivational speaker, really, in whatever way I can apply that. That may just be online in the videos that I'm creating, or maybe eventually on stages. But I want to be a motivational speaker. Other things as well, but I want to be a motivational speaker. And for me to become that, I could either tell myself, well, you can't because you suck at speaking in front of the camera, or suck at speaking at, events or whatever. Or I could make a commitment to myself that every single day, this entire year, I'm going to show up and create some sort of story or video where I speak to the camera and I practice this skill. And at first I sucked. I would continue to redo every single one of the videos, but little bit by little, I saw myself feeling like it came a little bit more easy to me. And by the end of that year, I started feeling like it was not even close to being as challenging as it was during the first month that I had committed to doing this challenge. And this is just to say that if you, for example, have looked at me or listened to me and thought like, oh my gosh, it just comes so easy to her. First of all, I'm still learning, and I am nowhere near where I want to be to actually impact the amount of people that I want to impact. But I am not going to stop, and I'm going to continue to practice, because I really do believe that I can, if I'm willing to put in the work and put in the belief, the work behind developing the belief that I can get to a very high level when it comes to motivational speaking, because I have so much that I want to share with the world. And I just know I need to get to that level and continue to practice in order for me to do so. That was just one thing, but it has been like that with everything that I've wanted in my life. What happens is that either we look at someone who's doing something and we just put them on a pedestal and think, oh, I could never do that. That's for them. For example, back when I wanted to move to LA, I would see people dancing in LA in these massive classrooms and just being crazy cool AF. And I would think like, oh, I could never do that. And then it was about realizing, okay, well, then what if you step outside of your comfort zone and you keep practicing and you keep showing up in these classrooms, then maybe eventually you will also be able to be a good dancer in one of these classrooms. Or when I wanted to get in badass shape, like I had just previously, like I just spoke about, believing that I'm just a normal girl and I could never get in that badass shape and have a six pack like these other badass chicks have, like the belief that I can't do that. And then the realization, oh, actually, what if I try to commit and learn from these other individuals, experiment with how they are using their nutrition and their training to actually achieve this physique and mental toughness that needs to be developed in order to achieve that. What if I start believing that I already am an athlete and I believe as if I already am an athlete? Then slowly, little by little, I saw myself becoming that. And like when I first started editing, today I do consider myself as a very good editor because I've been doing it for 5 years at this point. And I still have so much more to learn about storytelling and how to put a better story together. And well, I just have a lot to learn when it comes to that. But again, I started editing knowing nothing. And then it's just been hours and hours and hours of practicing every single day of every week, but also studying on YouTube and really digging into learning the skill of editing in order for my videos to get to the level that I want them to get to, because I want to become one of the top female fitness influencers on YouTube, because I believe I have value to share. I believe that my intention behind why I am so into fitness is to help people develop a stronger mindset and a stronger belief about what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, which is nothing. You're capable of everything you want in your life. But this is something that I really, really want. And that's also been a little by little process of developing this belief that I am a badass fitness influencer, YouTuber, and believing that I am capable and able of getting to a world-class level where I can impact millions of people's lives. And it feels even still scary to say, because this thought back in my mind of, who do you think you are to even say that out loud? And people are listening to you right now. But I want to be that. So why would I not share this with you? Why would I be afraid to share that? Because I'm hoping that this community that we have here in this Challenge Your Norm podcast is that we challenge your norm and that we allow ourselves to dream big and we allow ourselves to dream anything that we want, regardless of how far away we are of it in this moment. And the reason I'm sharing all these things I'm just sharing personal experiences as to where, like, areas of my life where I feel like I've grown a lot as a human, is because I think we all have these things that we want in life. And some of us allow ourselves to dream it, and some of us put a blanket on top of it and allow ourselves to be okay with where we're at. And my hope is that from me sharing all these things that I used to suck at and slowly develop skills in, just like I know you have in your life. I'm sure when you started whatever occupation or hobby or whatever thing that you're passionate and loving or feeling good at this moment, you started off at some point in your life not being very good at it. And then it took hours and hours and hours and hours and years and years and years of practice to get to where you are today. And with that reminder, reminding yourself that if there's something new that you want in your life, it doesn't matter what level you're at right now, because if you want it badly enough, if you commit You can do it. And that's really all I want for this podcast episode to remind you of, is that it does not matter where you're at today, because if you believe in yourself, if you commit, if you decide that you want to develop this skill, if you start believing in yourself and believing that you are capable of achieving that thing that you saw someone else do, that you automatically put on a pedestal as something that you could never do, the reminder that you can. I don't care where you're at right now. My mom, when she was 40, had been a hairdresser her whole life, completely changed her careers for years and years and years and years and years after that, over 10 years. She continued to educate herself, first became a psychotherapist, and then a hypnotherapist, a sex therapist, a couples therapist, a clairvoyant. Oh my God, I think I'm saying that right. Just all these different degrees she decided to educate herself in. And she was afraid AF, because like, who does that in their 40s? Changes careers like that. And she had to do it little by little, one client a week and then 2 clients a week. And then she slowly, at one point, actually started her business where she would, have people coming daily. And today she's 56 and has one of Denmark's most successful clinics. She literally has a waiting list. And whenever there's a hole, there's time, it gets booked right away. Imagine if she had thought, oh my gosh, I'm way too old to start this dream of mine at this point in my life and to go through all these educations and I can't do that. Imagine she'd done that. She would still have been a hairdresser, and the amount of lives that she's changing today, mine included, is insane. And I mean, the amount of people, stories that we've heard of that have changed and switched their careers and started a new hobby, and then, developing art that has become world famous at a later age is absolutely incredible and so inspiring. And if we remind ourselves of that, then we can, just put all our limiting beliefs in the garbage and remind ourselves that no, it's not too late. I have one life and I'm going to make it the absolute best I can. Look for opportunities, look for options, because there's always going to be challenges when we want to do something new. There's always going to be a ton of fears and a ton of reasons as to why we shouldn't do it. But what if we looked for the options and the reasons why we could, and for why it would be necessarily important, not just for us, but for the world, for our surroundings that would benefit from us making this change. And I think as humans, we think of the here and now, how it's inconvenient in the here and now. But if we think a little bit less about the here and now and think a little bit more about where we want to be in 5 years or 10 years, and we put that as our priority and we keep that end goal in mind, I think not only will we find solutions, we will worry less, but we will also just feel so excited about where we're going, because we know that that end goal is so exciting and what we deep down want, but also the daily journey of us getting there is going to feel so fulfilling, because when we are evolving and growing, or at least for me, and I mean, Tony Robbins says it. So if Tony Robbins says it, isn't it right? That growth equals happiness. I think you can relate to any time in your life where you've been evolving, moving towards some sort of goal or dream. And the process has just felt so fun, because you were evolving. You were seeing yourself leveling up. You were seeing yourself act, be, believe in a way that you had never previously experienced yourself do and be. And that is just so beautiful. And when we allow ourselves to get outside of our comfort zone like that, we inspire so many other people to do the same. It's like this thing of when we see someone else step outside of the norm, then we're more willing to do the same thing, And that's why I'm so excited about this Challenge Your Norm podcast, because I feel like everyone in here, in this group of people, are all here to grow and develop. And sometimes we just need a little reminder that we can do the thing that we deep down want. We should allow ourselves to dream big, and we should sometimes be willing to take a risk and sacrifice our here and now comfort for the better future that we deep down want, because we only have one life and we better freaking make it phenomenal. Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend or on social media, and please write a review, because I want this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So I would just crazy appreciate that. And what else I would also crazy appreciate is if you go out and have a beautiful day, be so loving to yourself, and just become aware when you have a thought or see someone do something or get inspired in some way. If you catch yourself thinking, oh, I couldn't do that, I don't have that skill, oh, that's so cool if they're doing that. Like, ask yourself, what would it take for me to do that? What skills would it actually require for me to learn, for me to do that? And maybe put it down on a piece of paper, because often we just make it so confusing when we keep it in our mind. But then when we put it down on paper, it just becomes clear and so much less overwhelming. Everything in life is actually pretty simple if we just break it down into smaller pieces. If something feels overwhelming, it's usually because we haven't put it down into like a step-by-step journey process. And by doing that, we can simplify it for ourselves. And only when it feels doable are we willing to take that first step. And all it really takes is taking that first step. So break it down. Ask yourself, what would it actually take for me to do this? And then do it, because you deserve it. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you again very soon. Bye.